not stay away from Coach Mulinix of West Branch Baseball. He joins us, and he's going to help us preview the West Branch Baseball team. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
No problem. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you good.
Good.
All right, Coach, as we always like to do. I mean, we were talking a little bit about Drew DeShields already. I mean, we were giving you a little preview, but we know there's a lot more that makes that West Branch motor run too. So talk about some of the seniors and returning classmen that you're excited for this season, and maybe some new guys too that you think are going to make some noise for the team this year.
Well, I guess we can start with Drew. I don't know if you guys knew, but Drew is not playing baseball this year. He is focusing on football and lifting, getting stronger, trying to get a better option for getting a scholarship, maybe playing Division I football. So he's not going to be with us this spring.
As that was it too. Anthony was talking about which sport he's going to play. I guess he kind of narrowed it down for us too.
Baseball is in his family. His dad obviously loves baseball.
Well, that's what I was figuring too with Walt and the way Walt is. You kind of figured he would kind of gear it, but.
And he was killing it in Class B last spring, so I was like, man, baseball.
I think the focus on the weight gain and the strength and all that for him trying to focus. It's tough being a 3-sport athlete today, especially if you want to play at the next level. It's really hard just to get the training and the lifting in. And so I understand. Drew and I have a great relationship. He's a great kid. Wish him the best. I still see him. So.
You got to figure, though, Coach. I mean, I'm sure it was hard for you. I mean, you obviously want the best for your athletes, and you want him to make the best decision. But you got to be like, oh man, that one was tough. It
definitely hurts us on the mound. I mean, we were projecting he would be our number 1 pitcher, obviously. So yeah, anybody who loses their number 1 starter coming back on the mound, it's a little blow to the gut, but it's okay.
But going into that detail. Those guys that are returning, and who do you expect to kind of step up on the mound then for you this year?
Well, this is probably the youngest team I've had in 20 years of coaching varsity baseball now. We have 27-man roster, which is a good number for varsity and JV, but of the 27, we have 16 freshmen. So, I mean, that's only 11 sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We have 4 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 4 seniors. We have 3 returning letter winners from last year. Grouped with that many freshmen, we're very young, very inexperienced. That being said, we do have 2 of our letter winners that are returning. Garrison Martin, who's a senior, and then sophomore Bo Alazaz will be our number 1, number 2 projecting going into the season right now.
Coach, I know you've had this team now for a couple of weeks, and you've been, I hope, scrimmaging and getting to know kind of the roster and what you have and what the advantages and disadvantages will be for your team. When you look at kind of the team goals that you and the staff have kind of set this year and the expectations, what kind of things come to mind?
Well, we do have one very experienced player returning, Nick Wilson. I'm sure you guys remember Nick from football and basketball. Extraordinary athlete. He's our shortstop. He played shortstop last year for us. It was all conference his freshman year, first team all conference his freshman year. Would have been probably first team all conference his sophomore year. We lost COVID. He was first team all conference last year. So, we're really expecting him and the other 3 seniors to. It's tough. We have really good kids. I mean, it's very enjoyable going to practice this year. No headaches whatsoever. Kids work extremely hard. But again, it's sometimes frustrating at times because you want to do the things that you've been doing throughout the past years that you just kind of have to back up and go a little bit slower because of the youth and inexperience of our team this year. But, one thing about West Branch baseball, I think everybody has, we're never not going to be a fundamental sound team. We're going to come out. We're going to field the baseball. We're going to throw strikes. And we're going to put the ball in play. We're still going to compete day in and day out. That's just our tradition at West Branch. We're still going to be a competitive baseball team.
Talking about competing in and out, and every day. Looking at this EBC too, what are going to be some of the challenges that stand in your way in coming away with another conference championship or competing, like you say, for a conference championship this year?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have some very good arms in our league. Gavin Bruni having Gavin out of the league, obviously, and he's at Ohio State right now. But Tommy Skelding at Marlington, the Rhodes kid at Salem. At one point you have three or four guys that were big time Division I arms in our conference. That doesn't happen very often. I mean, I went to school at West Branch. I was in the league. We had some good players then too, but to have three Virginia Tech, Ohio State, and Kentucky people committed to go play college baseball with that. And then obviously Lane was at YSU, his older brother. I mean, there was four. That's pretty impressive for our conference to have that type of talent on the mound. As far as the league goes, I mean, I would have to think that I think everybody would agree Marlington is the team to beat, in my opinion. I think they're strong top to bottom. They have more than one arm that's capable to win conference games for them. They have two or three, maybe four. I know Coach Cody Jones at Marlington pretty well, and I know he's super excited about the opportunity he has this year with the talent and the team that he has.
Coach, we obviously we're very familiar with this EBC. We know the teams that you're going to play in the conference. What about your non-conference schedule? Some of the teams that you'll play out of the league that you think will really prepare you for the postseason?
Yeah, our schedules kind of stayed the same. We have the Moonies, the Ursulines. I have to probably look at it right here. I think we open up with Struthers. I try really hard to play everybody that's in our district, so that when I vote for district, I have an idea and then we're going to play them. So we have Howland and Poland and Struthers, Mooney, Ursuline. Louisville always used to be in our conference, and then when they're out, that opened us up for an extra. Everybody in our conference gets kind of a bye week from their conference schedule. Ours is the second week of the season, so that's when we have the Mooney and Ursuline back to back, kind of our Catholic school week, so to speak. But those types of schools that we try to compete with and play over there in our district to see where we stand when we do our seeding.
Coach, you mentioned too having a particularly younger roster going into this season.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into a season having a lot of freshmen and sophomores too, and you presumably have these guys for hopefully 3 to 4 years apiece, what's kind of the message like going into a season like this too, knowing you will presumably have a future with these kids, but you still want to be competitive and you still want to kind of grow too with them and get them to progress along the way?
Yeah, this freshman class has been super successful. As far as winning, my son's in that class too, so that obviously adds a whole new challenge to it as well. But they went undefeated in 7th grade football, 8th grade football, freshman football. They won the league title. They went undefeated in 7th grade basketball, 8th grade basketball. So this freshman class has been extremely successful in anything that they've done. Now you're putting them up against 17, 18-year-old kids. Their confidence is there. They believe they're going to be successful because they've always been successful. So what do I want to see happen? Obviously, I would love to see them, the freshmen and sophomores, particularly have a good start. You just want to see them be a little bit successful at the start of the season, because if not, we all know how the mental issues you can have with failing at that level, specifically as a freshman and sophomore. It's a short season, but it can be a long season if you don't start off very well.
Yeah, and you talked about the confidence that winning like that kind of brings you, but talk also about the kind of the uncoachable standard of winning that kind of brings with you too, like understanding what it takes to win and making game-winning plays in big moments. That kind of just naturally comes when you start succeeding like that.
Yeah, we've always tried to put our kids in pressure situations. I'm okay with failure. I'm actually, it's good to see kids fail. Sometimes some of our best players we've ever had come through West Branch, they never failed and they were super successful for 4 years. They go to college and they deal with failure and they don't handle it very well sometimes. So it's okay. I'm good with failure as long as you learn from it and don't make that the same mistake again. Then it's not a bad thing, in my opinion. But again, with our younger kids, you just hope that they have that success. We've had great leadership from the past. Our Seth Schroeder's, Brant Alizos's, our kids were around those kids that are seniors in college now. Nick Wilson, he saw those kids as freshmen. I can say this for, we have such good kids right now. Going back to football season, some of the freshmen got to play a little bit of varsity football last year, and it was weird to see how the seniors, Mara, Nick Wilson, Hendershot, Coffee, Rockwell, all those seniors, how, Friday night, my son is telling me, hey, we're going over to Rockwell's to stay overnight, or hey, can they come out? And I'm like, really? Like, when I was in school, seniors didn't even know that freshmen existed. You know what I mean? And it was weird to see how they took those kids and they treated them like equals and had them. And I think that had a lot to do with the success of, no one thought they were better, and they all brought together as a team in football, and that's carried over in basketball. We had Joey Jackson as a freshman that started for our basketball team this year. You guys were there and watched Joey, and Joey had a great year and I don't feel like they treated Joey like, hey, you're a freshman. They treated Joey as like, you're a varsity basketball player. And that goes a credit to our football coach, Coach Harris, and then obviously Coach Brown, but more so seniors and probably the parents of those seniors, because obviously if those kids are mentoring those younger kids and not thinking that they're too good to do that, and that was part of their job, they obviously have great parents at home too that's probably teaching them to be leaders and things like that. So we have some really good senior leaderships at our school right now.
A quick follow-up, and then Ty can get to his next question, but you were talking about these coaches that your kids continually get to have. If there was a coach's room in West Branch, it would be made up of just absolute legends on both sides of the respective field or court. You get to share the spring with Coach Woods, who is a legend in softball, and then you got the Shields in basketball, you got Brown in basketball, you got the Shields in volleyball, and then you got Harris in football. What's it like being a part of this athletic community where you have such strong coaches at every kind of stop that your athletes are having if they are multiple sport athletes?
I got the coach at United, Marlington, Latonia, back to West Branch for the last 10 years. I can honestly say it reminds me a little bit at United. When I was at United, Coach Ogilvie was the football coach, and just Coach Harris, even now that Coach Cooper took over, you guys know he'll be our next head football coach next season. But Cooper and Brown and myself, and when it was Harris, the relationship us three have as far as the main male athlete, sports athletes, it's Coach Doris with wrestling. There's never a my sport is more important than your sport mentality between the three of us. We understand we're a smaller school. We need to share our athletes, and we do really well. It's a really good environment right now for our kids that, because if you don't have that, it's not good for the kids, because you probably see in others programs at our schools where coaches can pin kids against other coaches and make them make decisions, and they're 16, 17-year-old kids, and that's not right in my book, to make a 16 and 17-year-old kid have to pick and choose. And if the coaches can be adults and get along well and understand and share, it makes the situation better for all the kids. And we currently have that right now at our school, and that's why I think that you're seeing some success among all of our programs, because of that communication and understanding between all the head coaches. We're not just in here for, I guess the best way to put it is, I'm not just hoping that my baseball team's successful. I hope every athletic team at our school is successful. And I think all the coaches there right now, boys and girls, are the same way. They're very supportive of all of our programs, whether it's golf, soccer. Our girls' soccer team this year, when they were playing Salem for the league title, every head coach of all the sports were there, cheering them on. So it's a really good environment that we have right now. Our athletic department, Mr. Helm, he was my coach whenever I was in school growing up, is our athletic director. And like I said, we have things running very well right now amongst all of our coaches at our school. It's a good place.
Success is a word that you've brought up a few times in this conversation, Coach. And when you have a young, talented class like this freshman class coming up that's experienced the success that they already have, what do you as a coach do to try to continue to challenge them to keep them on their toes, to make sure that they don't get complacent and stagnant? Or do you think the varsity game just is something that's naturally going to do that going
I was
in?
just going to say, I think that'll take care of itself. They're going to have the challenge in front of them. Like I said, whenever you might have been successful as a 14 or 15-year-old in travel ball, but now you got Tommy Skelding on the mound going to Kentucky. I mean, it can humble you really quick. This sport can really humble you quick if you think that you can just show up and take a week or two off from hitting and you're going to come in there and hit the ball. It's not going to happen. So they know that. Like I said, there's I guess the best way to put it too is, and this could make sense, you have athletes and then you have football players, you have basketball players, you have baseball players. Like I would use Canfield as an example right now. I believe that Canfield has a lot of baseball players, and that's why they're very successful. They have a lot of kids who are baseball is their favorite sport. It's number one. They play other sports, but baseball is their primary sport. They're baseball players. They want to play at the next level. Like Nick Wilson, example. I mean, one of my favorite kids I ever coached. Nick Wilson's a great baseball player. He's a great athlete, but he's not, I would say, your baseball player. He's not looking to go play college baseball. He enjoys playing baseball with his buddies. He likes to go out and compete. He's an extraordinary competitor. I don't know what we would do without having Nick Wilson, but a lot of schools depend on having your athletes that you need to help with those kids who are just your baseball players. If that makes sense. Maybe I'm not explaining myself well, but we have some baseball players that are in that freshman and sophomore class. That may be the only sport they play. They've spent a lot of their time in their youth playing that sport, getting prepared. So it is exciting to know that you have those kids that, in your winter workouts, for example, off-season workouts in the past, you might only have 5 or 6 kids come because the majority of my team was on the basketball team or wrestling. And this year those numbers weren't the same. A lot of the younger kids were just baseball players only. So it allows you to, they spend more time just in that. Oh, my lights went off. Sorry. They spend more time just in that training for that one specific sport, kind of like Drew's doing for football, if that makes sense.
Right. Totally makes sense, Coach. Before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to highlight your coaching staff and the people that kind of work with you, because we know head coaches get the interviews and the limelight, but they're not alone, and they're definitely not doing it all themselves. So highlight the people that work with you and your staff, the people that make this program what it is.
We probably should have started with that. I mean, the two main things I think that are, three things that when you talk about West Branch baseball, I think one, you talk about the tradition that we've always have a good team and we're always going to be competitive. We're going to put a good product on the field. Two, our facilities are, you guys come out and do some of our games. I mean, we have top-notch facilities as far as Northeast Ohio is concerned. So we take a lot of pride in giving our kids good equipment, good facilities to get them prepared for the season. And number three, which is super important in my opinion, I know this is probably going to shock you guys, but my job is to get people to come in and coach those kids that are specifically trained in that as an infielder, an outfielder, a pitcher, catcher, whatever it would be. We actually have about 10 coaches on staff this year. We have two, I can start with the pitching. So Greg Dunham, maybe some of you guys remember Greg Dunham. He was a pitcher at South Range that took them to the regionals, pitched at YSU and then down in Alabama. Him, Coach Craven, and Coach Alazaz, Sean Alazaz, are our three pitching coaches. Sean used to be the head coach here. He's one of my best friends. He's probably the best baseball coach I've ever been around my entire life. I'll probably get some crap for that if he listens to this. So those three are our pitching coaches. And then I have Coach Loudon, who was a West Branch grad, played at Mount Union, and Coach Myers, who coached at Mount, will be our infield coaches. Our outfield coaches are Billy Goodall, and Billy was also a South Range grad and was an All-American outfielder at Mount Union, and Chris Tucker, who was we've had 2 All-American outfielders at Mount Union. Both of them are on our staff working with our outfielders right now. So our outfielders are in great hands. Our infielders are in good hands. Our pitchers are in good hands. And then Coach Toder, also a West Branch grad, Gary Martin, and myself. 2 of us work with the catchers, and then Coach Toder he's a JV coach and works with whatever we need him to do in that specific time. He also officials basketball, so you guys maybe know him from that. But we have we have 2 staff members that are, or 3 staff members that are on our 3 teachers at West Branch. One of them is an alumni, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other coaches are alumni from West Branch. So try to keep us here if we can. Go out and find the young coaches that were with the older coaches to find out the new stuff, what works with the old stuff, combined it. But if I can give my kids the best coaching and have 4 or 5 eyes, 6 eyes, 4 or 6 eyes on them, 3 coaches at one time instead of 1, it's in the best thing for our kids. So our kids are in great hands. I actually think I have the best coaching staff in the state of Ohio, hands down, no question. And 5 of them are volunteering. They're taking no money. So, I mean, when you come play us and we see 6 coaches in our dugout, our coaches are like, where do you guys get all this money at? Well, they want to donate their time and split stipends up, and they're here for our kids. So our coaching staff is extremely experienced, extremely talented. I'm lucky.
As long as they get the post-game snacks from the parents, I'm sure they're happy, right?
Yeah.
That's their pay. Give me the snack bags. Give me the
We'd have to fight over
cupcakes.
Coach Myers. Coach Myers will be the first one to get all the snacks. So if there's anything left after that, but he takes it. But no, like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited to see these guys grow up in the next couple of years and see what could happen. I mean, I'm really, really excited for the future. I think we're still going to be competitive this year, even with our youth, just because I know we have kids that are going to go out and play hard and do what they need to win, because they want to win.
Speaking of those kids, Coach, one final question before we let you go, because I can't go the show without asking, because we're all about sports here at YSM, but we're also all about those personal relationships and that family atmosphere. Let's take off the coaching hat for a second. Let's put on the dad cap. Where's your excitement level going into this season and being able to coach your son for varsity ball? And where's your kind of headspace at as a father for this?
You know, it was funny. I remember when he was like 6 and he was going to play T-ball, and I went down and signed him up at the hot stove just for the first year. And my wife asked me, she said, "You're going to coach?" I said, "Absolutely not. There's no way I'm going to coach. I want him to be on his own, not be around me." And I would say like 4 hours later, I get a phone call. "Hey, we need you to coach this team." So that didn't last very long. And then obviously I got to coach Alzaw's, his son, Bo. A lot of our kids have played on the same travel team growing up until this year. So I've got to coach him in the summer. It does add a whole new twist to it, obviously, because the perception sometimes, obviously, I mean, you guys get it. You know, he's my son. And I think anybody who knows me, though, and has been around, you could probably ask him, nobody's harder on it than I am. I mean, when we started travel ball going up, you know, he always would bat last. And why is he batting last? Well, that's where until he can prove to me that he needs to go up to where at one point I had some other assistant coaches on my team. They're like, "Hey, you got to get him up higher." And so then I did that. And I will say this, he probably works harder than any other kid that I've coached. I mean, he spends an immense amount of time in the weight room. Not the tallest kid, but he works extremely hard. But he's going to have to prove to me more than other kids. It's hard, again, to balance that. Do I want to be fair? You know, don't be too hard on him because he's your kid. But, you know, it's tough. I find myself when you get on to practice, and then I'm like, hey, if I can yell at him, then every other kid knows I can yell at them too.
Right.
So, but trust me, it's hard. Probably not. It's harder for me probably thinking what's being said behind the scenes more than what it is on the field, if that makes sense. Yeah. And every coach done this. Coach Alzaw's coached his son. You know, I'm sure it's hard with, you know, DeShields. I mean, his mom's a principal there. His dad's a basketball coach. And everybody's like, "Oh, well, is Drew getting favoritism?" No, Drew's an extraordinary athlete. He deserves everything he has. There's no favoritism. Look at him. I mean, he threw for 3,000 yards, rushed for 2,000. It's just those types of kids sometimes when they grow up in those environments, you have to deal with stuff with people in the background saying, well, hey, they only get to do this because of their parents or whatever it is. But if they saw how much work that those kids put in extra, I think it'd be really shocking to most people.
I'm not sure which coach said it, but I remember one that specifically said too, the thing about coaching your kid is once after a loss, especially all the yelling and all that ends after you leave the field. Then you got to deal with the car ride home. It's the car ride home if you're the coach's son.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the when we get home, my wife's like, hey, you got to get off of him a little bit. And then she'll get on about his grades or something like that. Because, I'm like, well, hey, you're doing the same thing I'm doing. Because my wife teaches at the school too. So he gets to have, he's under the microscope to make sure he's a good student and being a good kid and staying out of trouble and working hard. But, he didn't play basketball this year because, football and baseball. Same thing with Drew with baseball. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, dang it, Drew, you can't do that whenever my son did the same thing for 2. So we'll see. Again, he's one as a freshman. I hope he starts off and has a good start to the season, and it'll make things go a little bit easier. If not, I have no doubt that he'll handle it and keep plugging away.
Coach, thank you so much for the time today and giving us a good preview of West Branch baseball. We can't wait to get out there and see you guys. We can't wait to cover you guys. We wish you the best of luck, and we know that we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, you guys are welcome out to our field anytime. So get you up in the press box, turn the heater on. You guys throw some games on for us.
Might need it next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.